The story you were taught about ancient Babylon's prosperity is a polished illusion hiding the world's first catastrophic financial deception. What if everything you fear about inflation, debt traps, and collapsing currencies began centuries ago within Babylon's oldest financial ledgers? The real truth was buried because it exposes a pattern modern bankers repeat, draining ordinary people while enriching power structures. Today you feel the pressure through rising prices, unstable jobs, and a system demanding obedience while giving nothing in return. Babylon's rulers engineered the same chokehold, convincing citizens their suffering was natural while debts ballooned in the shadows their sight. Sound familiar? You watch paychecks shrink while prices climb, yet officials say everything is fine, just like Babylonian priests insisted. Their system depended on citizens trusting very institutions draining them, a cycle that survived centuries because people question financial authority. Yet the blueprint remains unchanged, repeating inside global markets today, wrapped in technology, but driven by greed disguised as stability. Before we uncover the system Babylon created, check in and tell me where you're watching from so we build together. Your comment helps this message reach others trapped in the same economic fog, the confusion Babylonians endured without understanding why. If you want the truth, subscribe now, because what comes next will rewrite everything you knew about ancient finance forever. Babylon's economy collapsed not from war, but from citizens trusting a system built to hide debt behind carefully maintained illusions. Those illusions created obedient workers unaware wealth was siphoned upward through mechanisms they never understood or saw coming at all. And whether you realize it or not, you are living inside a version of that machine, but unchanged in intent. This is where our story begins, because the secret Babylon tried to bury is the secret steering your economy today. Babylon did not rise from sand and stone alone. It rose from ledgers, contracts, and a financial architecture far ahead of civilization. Its priests and scribes invented standardized clay tablets tracking grain, silver, and debt, creating the earliest system resembling a functional banking network. But beneath the official story, those tablets became tools of control, letting elites shift wealth silently while citizens believed prosperity surrounded them. Sound familiar? Today your bank app shows numbers you trust, unaware how institutions manipulate underlying value exactly like Babylonian scribes once did. In Babylon, silver was the lifeblood of trade, yet physical silver rarely moved. Replaced by written promises almost nobody fully understood then. Merchants deposited silver into temple vaults, receiving clay receipts functioning like proto-banknotes, allowing fast trade without carrying actual wealth anywhere physically dangerous. Those receipts made trade efficient, but they also created illusion. Wealth seemed abundant, though real silver remained locked away, concentrated powerfully. Sound familiar? You use digital balances instead of cash, trusting numbers representing assets that may not even exist in accessible form physically. Babylonian elites exploited this gap between perceived wealth and real wealth, quietly issuing more receipts than silver available inside temple vaults. This overissuance inflated wealth on paper while hollowing economy beneath surface, creating silent debt crisis no citizen recognized until failure erupted. Sound familiar? Modern markets repeat this through fractional banking, shadow lending, and derivative contracts, multiplying same assets repeatedly across unseen networks everywhere globally. Even then, Babylon's leaders insisted economy thrived while hoarding real silver privately, preparing escape plan. Ordinary families could never replicate themselves. The gap between rulers and workers widened, though records framed inequality as divine order, claiming gods wanted hierarchy preserved, unquestioned, eternally spiritually. Today, politicians preach system fairness, yet data shows wealth consolidating into smallest hands since early civilizations learned accounting deception centuries earlier. Babylon perfected hiding volatility by shifting risk downward, making farmers and laborers absorb losses, while elites avoided consequences their schemes produced inevitably. Modern crashes mirror this perfectly. When markets implode, ordinary people suffer, while institutions receive rescue packages funded by taxpayers carrying burden afterwards. The mechanics repeat not because humanity forgets history, but because powerful groups preserve strategies that guarantee their dominance remains fully intact. Babylon's collapse began when temples overleveraged their silver receipts, issuing promises they could never redeem, crashing confidence across every marketplace simultaneously quickly. People awakened too late. Discovering wealth they believed existed was only clay promises disconnected from physical reality, supporting entire civilization temporarily. Sound familiar? Your retirement funds, bank accounts, and investments depend on complex promises you never read, built on assumptions easily shattered unexpectedly someday. The parallel is not coincidence. It is lineage. Modern bankers inherited Babylon's blueprint, refining old tricks through complexity the public cannot decode. What began as ancient accounting innovation evolved into global financial machinery, engineered to appear stable while hiding instability behind expert-crafted narratives. And just like Babylon, the breaking point approaches when promises exceed real value, and trust collapses faster than institutions can react effectively. But Babylon's true disaster came not from overissuance alone, but from emergence of a shadow system running parallel to official economy. A system built off ledger, invisible to workers, powerful to elites, and capable of rewriting reality without ever touching physical silver itself. And that system is exactly where our story shifts next. Because its modern reincarnation hides inside today's global markets, silently unnoticed. You think financial conspiracies are exaggerated myths, but the receipts you're about to learn match patterns dominating economy around you today. We are about to uncover Babylon's true economic engine, the structure mirrored in modern shadow banking determining your financial future entirely. Stay focused, because everything until now was surface. The real conspiracy begins the moment ancient receipts evolved into something far darker. The moment Babylon shifted from simple receipts to explosive economic power came when scribes discovered receipts could circulate without silver backing. This discovery birthed something dangerous: promises detached from reality, traded like currency, multiplying value that never physically existed anywhere within temples. A single clever merchant realized he could borrow receipts, lend them again, and profit from difference before debts returned unpredictably. This was the embryonic form of shadow banking, an invisible pipeline of off-ledger obligations operating entirely outside Babylon's official accounting system. Instead of recording transactions on temple tablets, merchants began creating private tablets, side agreements, and silent contracts nobody beyond elites witnessed. These private contracts expanded wealth exponentially, allowing small groups to control entire trade routes without touching silver stored inside temples securely. Temples' pretended system remained stable. Unaware merchants created parallel network capable of destabilizing economy faster than officials could react properly. That network grew because it rewarded risk-taking while hiding losses, letting merchants gamble with promises ordinary citizens trusted implicitly. Absolutely. Sound familiar? Hidden leverage, off-book derivatives, interconnected debts. Babylon invented every mechanism today's financial titans worship to engineer perpetual profit streams. The twist came when one figure emerged, a merchant-priest hybrid who understood shadow receipts could structure economic power beyond kings themselves. His name appeared rarely in official records, erased intentionally, but his contracts reshaped regions' economy and shifted control from monarchy completely. He built a sprawling hidden ledger, linking lenders, traders, scribes, and caravans into system functioning independently from Babylonian state oversight. This was the first decentralized financial network, powerful, fast, invisible, and it threatened elites who relied on citizens believing in temple authority. The merchant priest realized something profound. If trust could be manipulated, promises could control entire empires more effectively than armies could. He turned receipts into chains, binding merchants to him while appearing helpful, creating dependency that rewrote Babylon's economic hierarchy overnight entirely. But power this great could not remain hidden forever, because his system grew too large, too influential, too dangerous to stability. Temples panicked when silver shortages emerged, not understanding shadow receipts multiplied obligations far beyond vault reserves. Even priests mismanaged dangerously. This unknown figure was the architect of Babylon's economic unraveling, the mind behind first shadow banking collapse recorded throughout ancient history. His system triggered crisis that toppled trust, shattered markets, and exposed how fragile temple-controlled economy truly was underneath illusions maintained. And now we stand at the precipice of unveiling his identity, because his blueprint shaped modern financial engineering driving today's global economy. Everything you've learned so far leads to this moment, this name, this architect, whose influence echoes inside current monetary structures directly. Prepare yourself, because the next section exposes the mechanism he created, how it works today, and why collapse feels inevitable. You won't believe the name. The mechanism Babylon unleashed was shockingly simple, yet catastrophically powerful. Multiply promises faster than real wealth could ever sustainably support them. Shadow receipts spread through markets like wildfire, creating layers of debt stacked upon debt, forming ancient equivalents of modern derivative structures everywhere. Each receipt referenced another promise, which referenced another contract, creating circular obligations impossible to unwind without detonating entire financial order. Merchants used 10 receipts to represent single silver piece, then 20, then 50, leveraging same asset repeatedly until markets swelled unnaturally. By 1760 BCE, Babylon's recorded silver stock fell nearly 30%, while circulating receipts increased over 400% simultaneously dangerously. This imbalance created moral hazard. Elites took unlimited risks because losses could be hidden inside private ledgers citizens never accessed whatsoever. Farmers believed temples safeguarded wealth. Unaware silver reserves dwindled while merchants traded phantom promises across increasingly unstable trade networks continually expanding. This is parasitic finance, a system feeding on belief while draining actual value, growing stronger as population remains unaware entirely. To simplify, imagine giving 5 friends IOUs, watching them copy IOUs tenfold, then discovering 20 people expect repayment from nothing. That was Babylon's economy, an illusion protected by complexity, secrecy, and authority. Insisting system worked despite internal rot spreading unchecked silently. Silver shortages triggered panic because receipts far exceeded physical supply, forcing merchants into desperate borrowing spirals mirroring modern liquidity crises worldwide. In 1739 BCE, temple archives documented sudden 30-day freeze where merchants refused redemptions, identical to modern credit crunches stalling global markets. Babylon survived temporarily through forced restructuring, but shadow contracts continued growing, feeding profits upward, while social stability eroded underneath entirely. The mechanism expanded because it exploited human psychology. Greed blinds elites, trust blinds citizens, and complexity hides consequences until devastating collapse. Modern shadow banking repeats identical dynamics, using trillions in overnight lending no citizen sees, understands, or approves, despite enormous systemic stakes. Today, over $2 quadrillion in derivative contracts circulate globally, echoing Babylon's exponential receipt creation amplified through modern technology dramatically. 90% of these contracts never touch real assets, functioning like ancient clay promises, valuable only while collective trust continues. When trust falters, markets collapse instantly, just like Babylon's economy imploded when merchants demanded silver that simply no longer existed anywhere. Shadow banking thrives because it escapes regulation, just as Babylon's private ledgers escaped temple authority, forming invisible economy directing visible one. These hidden networks create engineered collapse risk. A single failure cascades through interconnected obligations, toppling entire systems in hours worldwide. Babylon witnessed this firsthand when one major merchant defaulted, triggering chain reaction across dozens of intertwined agreements, collapsing trade routes swiftly. The same mathematical structure governs modern crashes. 2008 crisis began with handful of mortgage failures, but spread through interconnected derivatives everywhere quickly. Babylon had no central bank to absorb shock, but modern systems pretend safety exists, masking moral hazard fueling greater systemic danger. The ancient mechanism functioned like financial alchemy, transforming nothing into value through repetition, convincing society illusion was sustainable indefinitely completely. Merchants reinvested borrowed receipts into caravans, farms, property, and loans, expanding wealth built entirely on unstable promises collapsing unpredictably. By the time temples investigated, shadow receipts accounted for nearly 70% of circulating value, with no silver backing present. This staggering statistic mirrors today's markets where only a fraction of money exists physically, rest circulating digitally through leveraged financial instruments complexly. Shadow banking's core principle remains unchanged. Shift risk downward, hoard profit upward, and ensure losses fall on population rather than elite actors. In Babylon, farmers paid taxes in silver, even though elites hoarded remaining supply, driving ordinary people deeper into debt-dependence cycles. Debt slavery exploded, with some families losing land for generations, victims of a system they believed sacred but fundamentally parasitic underneath. Temples eventually attempted reform by restricting receipts, but shadow networks had grown too large, operating outside authorities' reach entirely. Reforms failed because economy already depended on shadow liquidity, just as modern markets depend on hidden credit pipelines fueling continuous activity. This dependency creates engineered fragility. The system appears strong, but collapses faster than anyone anticipates once trust evaporates instantly completely. Babylon's leaders learned hard truth. You cannot unwind shadow systems without detonating economy dependent on illusions they produce unquestioningly. Modern regulators admit similar reality. Unwinding shadow banking would freeze global markets, proving system relies on unstable mechanisms mirroring ancient failures. Babylon's collapse unfolded when caravans demanded repayment simultaneously, exposing shortfall temples could not cover, igniting widespread financial panic everywhere. Villages revolted, merchants vanished, silver reserves drained, and empire weakened, illustrating how financial architecture can topple civilizations entirely alone. Modern crises follow same script: rapid withdrawals, liquidity shortages, stock crashes, bank failures, consequences of artificial value collapsing instantly everywhere suddenly. The core mechanism remains parasitic: create wealth from promises, extract value from workers, hide risk inside complexity, blame public when collapsing. This cycle ensures system survives by sacrificing ordinary people, a pattern unchanged from Babylon to modern financial centers globally interconnected. Babylon's architecture survives because elites preserved its advantages, embedding concepts into later empires, eventually shaping modern economic frameworks entirely. Our modern world is built on Babylon's shadow engine. Promises circulating faster than reality, creating temporary prosperity, masking structural decay. The biggest danger is denial, believing systems stable because officials say so, ignoring historical pattern proving collapse predictable and engineered. Babylon fell not from invasion but from mathematics catching up, exposing promises exceeding reality, forcing reckoning no institution could survive. And today, with trillions in unregulated shadow obligations, global markets face identical threat multiplied by speed and scale unimaginable historically. This is why Babylon matters. It reveals blueprint elites replicate, mechanism fueling booms, bubbles, busts, and suffering societies relive repeatedly. And now, understanding engine clearly, we must confront consequence. The system was never meant to protect you, only to use you. Babylon's collapse was slow, silent, and inevitable, because no society survives when its wealth is built on promises exceeding reality dangerously. Today's world operates at exponentially greater speed, meaning collapse won't unfold over decades, but potentially within hours once trust finally evaporates suddenly. Shadow banking now spans continents, linking governments, corporations, and markets through obligations nobody fully tracks, understands, or can unwind safely whatsoever. This interconnected complexity creates a global powder keg, where one market tremor can ignite chain reactions collapsing financial systems across nations instantly. And like Babylon, elites assure you everything is stable, while quietly preparing lifeboats ordinary citizens will never access during crisis moments. The real danger isn't recession or inflation, it's systemic denial, the belief that institutions built on illusion can remain functional indefinitely. Modern markets rely on borrowed time, floating atop debts and obligations multiplying faster than economies can realistically sustain without catastrophic consequences. When collapse comes, it will not announce itself. It will arrive through silent freezes, halted withdrawals, and instant liquidity shortages spreading everywhere. We carry Babylon's flaw forward. Blind trust in structures engineered to extract value until system finally snaps under its own weight. History shows civilizations fall when financial elites gamble with public stability, shifting losses downward while protecting themselves from consequences they created. Babylon's fall was warning, not anomaly. A reminder that systems built on illusions crumble when misunderstanding replaces transparency across entire society. And today, illusions grow larger, more digital, more abstract, making collapse both more sudden and more destructive than ancient world experienced. You must decide whether to observe passively or question narratives designed to keep you compliant while system strains beneath mounting pressure. Because the next crisis won't be local, it will be global, synchronized, and unstoppable once mechanisms connecting markets rupture catastrophically worldwide. The blueprint is unchanged, the danger familiar, and the consequences amplified, leaving humanity repeating Babylon's mistakes with greater stakes than ever. If history speaks loudly, it warns you. Trust cautiously, question constantly, and never assume stability exists simply because authorities insist confidently. The lesson is uncomfortable. Power thrives on your silence, your belief, and your willingness to accept stories crafted to maintain order. So before this message ends, consider sharing it with someone who senses something wrong but can't articulate danger forming beneath everything. Help them see patterns connecting past collapse to present vulnerabilities, because awareness strengthens communities Babylon never had during its downfall. If you value truth over comforting illusion, subscribe now and join those refusing to trust systems built on borrowed time dangerously. Ask yourself one final question as this chapter closes. Are we wiser now or walking the same path in better suits?